You're watching Playing the Unplayable on Mtgo Academy featuring Planet Walls.
Hello everybody, Planet Walls here for Playing the Unplayable. What are we playing today? We are playing a version of the first classic deck I ever piloted online, Birthing Pod, or what I affectionately refer to as Mishra's Afterbirth. So here's the deal. You get to run Mishra's Workshop and Birthing Pod. This means Birthing Pod can come out the first turn. Sometimes you can do nutty shit like take workshops and soul rings and mana crypts or mox opals and so forth, and just make a ton of stuff happen really fast, and just turn your like mirror retriever into a lodestone golem and shut down the game. By the way, this is the first post restriction daily event for the format. Sphere of Resistance and Lodestone Golem were restricted, which made a huge impact. I felt like it was the appropriate time to bring this deck back as a result, and I would recommend reading Enderfall's article on his Unlocking the Vault piece on the restrictions, and also on Pure MTGO. There is an article by Epsilon Minus I would highly recommend as well. It's a little old now, maybe like both are a week old about, maybe a bit more even, but they're definitely worth reading if you're interested in Classic. And so Sphere of Resistance and Lodestone Golem have been restricted. This Lodestone Golem here, you can pod into it through Deceiver Exarch, which untaps your pod. You can also play a Frogmite out real quick, pod it into a Zealous Conscripts, which then untaps your pod, and then you can drop a Massacre Worm in the case of the Fishy Fellow White Weenie deck, a Frost Titan in the case of Oath, or some other slow control deck, a Wormcoil Engine sort of generically against aggro. You can also hardcast that. Or Salvage Titan, you can actually drop really quickly and turn into a Plat Angel. So there's some cards here. I'm not sure the optimal build of this deck. It is extremely hard to build just because there's so many variables and so many metagame decisions to include. But I'll talk about some of the brief decisions I made. I think Revoker is very good in this format, so I'm playing that. For mana fixing, there's a Scuttlemutt. There's a Palladium Mirror for additional ramp. It can come out in turn 1, and then turn 3 you could have, in theory, 8 mana. It's nuts. Or more even. Mirror Retriever helps you recoup cards that you lose to them getting countered. It helps you find multiple Lodestones or get back on Metamorph. Skull Clamps are nuts. There is a tension in the deck between potting and Skull Clamping, because sometimes you draw the cards with Skull Clamp, like Massacre Worm, that are extremely hard to cast in the deck. Mana-wise, you've got 10 standard lands, like Workshops, City of Traders, Ancient Tombs. Then you got 2 Wastelands and Strip Mine, Tolarian Academy, 1 Gaia's Cradle, 1 Phyrexian Tower, a Tree of Tales, and a Snow-Covered Forest. So Tree of Tales can be found Trinket Mage, Snow-Covered Forest can be hunted for, in response to Ghost Quarter or Path to Exile or something. So it gives you some utility with that. That's awesome. I can't wait to ask him about that in a minute. So I'll speed up then. Zealous Conscripts keycard, a sideboard. I'll be real quick. You can sort of turn the deck in response to Grafdigger's Cage, which people will bring in, into something that can sort of slow them down with Thorns and Trinispheres, more like a traditional shop deck. Tormod's Crypt is there against Dredge. Plague Spitter is there against the Fishy Fellow White Weenie deck, among other things that have a lot of 1 toughness guys, plus this guy just looks so fucking funny. Lawin is there against True Name Nemesis and other blue dudes like Fish. Angel Finality is good against Graveyard Shenanigans, against Delver because of its toughness, and against Dredge. Needlebug against Affinity and other artifact decks. Zealous Conscripts gives you an additional utility, because sometimes you draw this card but you really want it in your deck. Bane of Progress against Oath, and also against artifact-based decks, including Affinity. Even though it kills all your own guys, you should only have to attack like once. Duplicate gives you some extra removal. Elish Norn against creature-based decks where you can remove them. And Kazul against Dredge, because they have no way to pay the tax, the Ogre tax. It's more like a troll tax, whatever the case. They have no way to... the troll toll, to the boy's soul. Anyway, they have no way... Now I'm going to get sued by 20th Century Fox, but they have no way to pay the tax, and so they can never really attack with all their ground Schvetzers. So that's the list. Feel free to ask any questions. Summoner's Egg is funny. There's some other things that are funny. This, like I said, it's a version of the first deck I played in Classic League, so I'm happy I get to revisit it. Not sure how good it is. But definitely check out round 1 and the following rounds and see how I do. And if you want to build this deck, Jesus, it's a lot of fun. Let me know if you figure out a way to build this better. I know some other people have tried it in the past, but no one has been able to, as far as I know. replicate the success of the first tournament that I played it in. I think it was just surprising. People didn't know what to expect, and I didn't even know how powerful it was. There's some interesting interactions, as I mentioned. Precursor Gauntlet's another option. Karn is another option. There's plenty of stuff to think about. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in round 1.